We all face rejection at some point in our lives, whether it is with someone or an opportunity or even asking for help. And it could occur in any area of our lives, whether it is our relationships, career, business, and even in our spiritual life. And often, when we are faced with rejection, it is a very difficult thing to come to terms with. But how you come through rejection all depends upon how you understand it. So that is what I want to do here today, is to help you to see rejection at different angles so you could actually use it in your favor and deal with it in a healthy manner. So you would no longer see rejection as being devastating, but with a degree of optimism as something being beneficial to you. When you experience rejection, what it says to you basically is that we are not a fit, whether it is you and someone or you and something. But it doesn't mean to say it's saying we are not a fit at this time. But it doesn't mean to say that down the road we cannot be a fit. We are not a fit now because of certain criteria. So that's one of the things you have to figure out is what criteria is missing that cause us not to be a fit. Many years ago, I knew of someone who was looking to purchase a house, and that deal did not go through. But many years after, the person went looking to purchase a house again and actually ended up buying the same house, got it at a good deal, and actually was in a position now to purchase that house without a mortgage and therefore paid cash for it, saving herself mortgage interest. So right now, we may not be a fit, but down the road, we could be a fit. And we not being a fit doesn't mean to say that you are not a fit elsewhere. You see, when you get rejected, it is very easy to feel dejected because you feel not good enough. You may feel judged, condemned, devastated, and disappointed. And because of that feeling of insufficiency, when we are not a fit, many people tend to feel, well, because we're not good enough here, we're not good enough elsewhere, and there isn't another fit elsewhere. So this is a wrong idea. And the reason you may feel so dejected, it is because usually you've assigned a level of importance here in this fit that is not fitting, right? You've assigned a level of importance or value to a person, to a thing or an opportunity that rejected you. It is something you want, something that you cannot have right now, something that cannot measure up to, that you cannot measure up to. So when you get rejected, often you tend to feel as though your whole world comes crashing down, and you may actually feel as though you're a failure. So what to do when you get rejected? I know getting rejected isn't an easy thing to go through. I know how it feels. I've been there many times in my life, and to be honest, I wasted time and energy and years in dejected mode. And I actually wish I knew then what I know now. When I was younger, I wish I knew all of this stuff. So I hope that young people who are watching can learn from this, receive this message, embrace it, so that you do not waste time and energy. When you get rejected, your ego often feels bruised. You may feel ashamed, disappointed, not good enough, angry, scared, and a range of emotions can arise. So I say, feel your emotions deeply, get it out of your system, and then go find a nice, quiet, calm space and sit there with yourself. Take some long, deep breaths and start to quieten down within. Then the next thing to do is just simply accept that you have been rejected. When you can accept that you've been rejected, now you'll be in that space whereby you can begin to understand and bring some light on that rejection. So you would know what to do for it to work favorably now in your life. When you get rejected, it is because something isn't aligning. me and you, me and an opportunity. So when that happens, instead of feeling so devastated, just say, you know what? Thank you, God, for saving me from this partnership. Otherwise, you would end up trying to force this square peg into a round hole. And trying to force a fit is going to be very painful for you. So save yourself that trouble. And also, you could end up missing out on something that is far greater, that is meant for you, and that could actually change your life for the better. This is why it is not worth wasting your time and life feeling dejected when you are rejected. But it is not good enough to stop there, to say, okay, you know what? Let me move on. Before you move on, I want you to look objectively at why it is you were rejected. And the reason I want you to look objectively at why you were rejected before you move on is because if you move on too quickly from whatever it is you wanted to align that isn't aligning, is that it could be a good fit somehow. And if you move on, you might actually miss out on a good thing still. So see if there is something you need to adjust, whether there is something you need to improve on. And that requires you to be very objective. And to be objective with yourself might actually be very painful to do so, because it means you have to face some hard truths about yourself. It means you may even have to let go of some ideas that are not working in your favor. But I promise you that all of these are in your best interest to examine. If you cannot see something that you need to adjust, maybe because you're not being objective with yourself, objective enough with yourself, I suggest ask someone to help you. But don't go and ask someone who is going to just want to make you feel good about yourself. Of course, I want someone to be there to encourage you and to inspire you, but I also want to know that that person will provide you with real insights if you really need to make an adjustment or an improvement. So if there is something you need to improve on or adjust, you can identify it and fix accordingly. When you do that, then you would be in a position to go and revisit the situation, the person, thing, or opportunity that rejected you, with now a fresh approach, a new and improved you. And when you do that, if it works out, it means that, well, the adjustment is what you needed to do in the first place for us to fit, for there to be an alignment. And if it doesn't work out, what happens? It means you have two choices at this point, because you already made some adjustments and improvement, right? And if that doesn't work out, your two choices are, one, you are going to make whatever other adjustments you need to make, because now you're going to have to reassess, or you let go and you move on elsewhere where there can be a better fit. You alone know how important that alignment is for you, the time, energy, and resources that you have to invest in it. You alone know what is at stake if you were to move on or if you were to continue. So it has to be something very lucrative for you in your life. Now, if after being objective, no issue can be found, whether you looked at it or you had somebody helping you, then it simply means that this is not a good fit. So just move on in confidence, realizing this, with the confidence that you know that what is for you is elsewhere. We used to have a show in North America called Dragon's Den. I don't know if it still exists because I'm not a TV buff. But basically what it was a group of investors who would interview people who are now, generally they would be starting up a business, or some of the businesses may already be ongoing. So the investors would look at the business concepts and the results to determine whether or not this is something lucrative for them to invest in. And often you would find that there were times when people got rejected by the dragons, though the dragons were the investors. And what the people who got rejected would actually move on, and they moved on beyond rejection, dejection, beyond their fear of not feeling good enough. They believed in their business and went on to actually continue the business on their own, and some of them became very successful without the dragon's investments. So, how were they able to do that? Well, first of all, they accepted that they and the dragons were not aligned, and therefore they didn't stay stuck in dejected mode. Of course, they would have felt not good enough at some point, or they may have felt dejected, but they didn't stay stuck. Instead, they believed in their business and they believed in themselves. And therefore, they had really no other choice but to do it on their own. And so they put their all into it, and it worked out for them. And this has happened with many people. It can be seen in people whereby they in their career they got rejected, and therefore they were forced and pushed into a new career, into a new direction, often a very different path that was actually meant for them because they ended up being successful. It happens even with relationships and friendships. So when you get rejected, do not stay too long in dejected mode. When you get rejected by people, generally, and I'm just talking in general terms here, there might be exceptions, such as with family or when you're doing charity work for others, it tends to be a bit selfless. But generally, you are only important to someone to the extent they needed you. And that is why they rejected you, because they no longer need you. Now, this may not sound very nice and very good, but no, it is true. And if we were to accept this reality of each other, we are going to have less expectations of each other. So when we get rejected by someone, we wouldn't feel as devastated and we wouldn't stay as stuck in that dejection mode, but we will move on. So understand that when people reject you, they are in your life for themselves, not necessarily just for you. And this is very prevalent today in friendships and business relationships, and sadly now even in family relationships, as well as in spiritual relationships. So what is rejection trying to teach us here? Rejection is actually teaching us all to become like a yogi, centered and balanced within ourselves, so that we can let life flow and not stay stuck in dejection. Rejection has many merits to it, some of which are, first thing, when you get rejected, your ego normally gets bruised. So what it does, it humbles you. It humbles you to take a look at yourself, to look at your situation, so you can transform and improve. The rejection can actually strengthen you because it takes determination and willpower to pick up the pieces of all those broken pieces, and put it back together and make something beautiful out of it so that you can build character. It helps you to discover a sense of self, a true sense of self. So when people reject you, you don't end up feeling dejected. You don't feel less than who you truly are based on somebody's biased and subjective opinion. You get to determine if your rejection is actually a signal that life wants you to continue on in a new or different path, or if you need to persist and not give up. Then your rejection, what it is doing here for you, it is helping you to see very clearly, more than ever, the reason behind why you want what you want. It's worth to you, and that is going to be your defining factor. And therefore, your rejection would now be turned into determination, whereby you have a strength of mind to persist relentlessly, yet letting go, so that life can flow. So your relentless pursuit does not rob you of joy. Everybody in the world today is running after something, hoping to find happiness at the end of that something, but ends up missing out so much joy along the way. In terms of persisting and not giving up, I'm sure many of you know of this story, and I just want to remind you of it. Thomas Edison was told, at least this is what I've understood, that he was told by his teachers that he was too stupid to learn anything. And his first two jobs, he actually lost them because he was told he was unproductive. As an inventor, it actually took him 1,000 tries before he can invent the light bulb. So if this thing you want is of value to you, is worth it, then you know to persist relentlessly, to not give up. The next thing you have to do is, of course, believe in yourself, in a higher power, in a greater intelligence, and make this as a solid foundation in your life so you'll be in a better place and a better state to handle any rejection. So when people reject you, their biased opinion will not be able to shake you nor break you down. You see, if you don't believe in yourself, or if that belief is weak, and somebody doesn't believe in you, you will easily fall apart. You would lose your self-esteem and confidence and your self-worth, because in the first place, these were already weak. And what rejection by others is doing is just allowing this weakness to surface. It's brought it up on top to highlight them. Not for you to go and dig a deep hole for you to hide in, to be scared, to withdraw, to not try again. This is arising for you to become aware of any weakness that needs to strengthen, that you need to strengthen. It's something you need to strengthen yourself. You need to strengthen that foundation of self. And all of this is going to facilitate your spiritual growth and maturity. Okay? So when you're rejected, do not stay disheartened for too long. Do not stay in that dejected mode. Brighten up your spirits. Leave what you need to leave in the past, whether it is negative emotions, old ideas, concepts and beliefs, defeating qualities, something or somebody, okay? Keep looking forward, hopefully, in a new and improved way. Move forward as your great blessing could be waiting for you. So do not miss out on it by staying in dejected mode. Live your life. Don't stop living because you've been rejected. Trust in God, in that greater intelligence and higher power to be a guiding light in your life, and stay positive, because all of these are better alternatives to staying down and staying dejected. So do not let rejection steal your present and your future from you. I'm going to leave you now with two quotes from the Holy Bible. And the first one is from Genesis 19:17, which says that the angel warned Lot and his family to not look back. Then in Genesis 19:26, it says that Lot's wife actually looked back. She kept looking back at the past, and she ended up becoming a pillar of salt. So while her husband Lot and the others were able to move forward, she missed out on the great blessings that God had planned for her. In Isaiah 18:19 it says, "Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of the old, the past. I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." So with this, I encourage you to leave rejection behind and dejection, so that your blessings can spring forth now and in the future.